In this video, I'm going to go over what a diagonal basting stitch is. So if you are somebody who often finds yourself frustrated when trying to sew a chiffon fabric with a lining and everything starts shifting, the diagonal stitch is going to be your next best friend when it comes to putting those types of fabrics together in the sewing machine. So basically, the diagonal basting stitch locks all of your fabric in place. It keeps it from moving and just scooching around as you're sewing. Even like it's the replacement of pinning. It does take a little bit of extra time, but in my years of sewing, that extra time is always well spent. So let's get into the tutorial, and I hope you enjoy watching this video. And if you do, make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment, share the video with a friend who has the same struggle. Either way, I hope you enjoy. So let's get into the tutorial part of this video. For any kind of basting stitch, there is no need for a knot or any kind of securing back stitch. The stitch is only meant to be a temporary holding stitch. So whenever I get started here, I am coming up from the bottom before I just start in with horizontal stitches. Typically, if the fabric I was working on was larger, I would not need to do this, but since I am doing a little sampler here, I needed something to anchor at some point so that way I did not pull it all the way through by accident. After I did that, I do what is normal, which is taking my needle and putting it down into the fabric and coming back up through the fabric about a ½ inch over horizontally, making a perfectly straight line with my needle. After I do that, I bring the needle out back to the top side of my fabric, and then I move, in this instance, I moved about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch up, and then I began my second horizontal stitch. Now, as you can see, as I'm stitching horizontally, I have my diagonal floaters developing as I go. This is the correct way to make a diagonal basting stitch. So I continue to do these horizontal movements as I go up into my swatch. If you want to increase your control over your fabric, you would make your spacing closer together. But if you are working on a large surface area and you just want to make sure none of this moves, you can make these types of stitches 2 inches between each other, and that way it's just securing the general area and not keeping it super tight. But here, this is kind of demonstrating if I was working on a top stitch seam and I didn't want it to move, I would do this type of stitch. That way I don't have any buckling in my fabric. This kind of stitch would really help in that situation. So I'm going to repeat this stitch a few times so you can get the pattern and the rhythm of how I'm doing the stitch style.